hopefully everybody enjoyed it.
Woo!
So what we're going to do now essentially is it's a little bit structured, but not really. So would love some like reactions if you guys have questions. We will let our speakers introduce themselves so you know who they are if you don't already. We've got some veteran storm chasers here with us tonight with some great expertise to share as well. So I spent half the movie kind of staring at these guys just to see their reactions to some of it, because that's the fun part. I think what we'll do is have Josh, Karen, and Tony introduce themselves, but I also want to reiterate, if you kind of missed our welcome, Chris Bianchi here, or Chris Bianchi, better known, is going to kind of be our MC moderator for this part of the discussion. And Chris is a broadcast meteorologist on 9 News in Denver. So if you built for this conversation, glad to have him with us. And we can start with Josh, and Josh, you can use the microphone if you want to introduce yourself.
Up to you. Hi, I'm Josh. Hey, Josh.
Hi,
Power to buy out? I don't know. I do mobile radars and tornadoes and other fun weather.
All right.
I'm Tony. I've been chasing storms for almost 3 decades and probably literally have done every possible career path in meteorology at that time.
All right.
All right, well, we made that easy.
Yeah, there we go. All right.
I'm gonna go back again just quickly because that just did not do it for me. So some of these faces might look familiar to you if you have seen the Discovery series. So if you're wondering why they do, that's probably why. Josh Wurman is the inventor of the Doppler on wheels and has been out chasing storms now for
30 years, I guess, with trucks. I chased a few times with a car, but mostly with trucks.
Yeah. So Josh's been doing this for a minute or two, and Karen almost equally. So some really important tornado signs coming out of this work. So definitely check them out if you have not. And Tony Laubach as well should be a familiar face, member of the TwistX storm chasing team with Tim Samaras and his team, and now does some great coverage. Was one of the few people on the Akron Twins last year. Smile while I'm saying that. But sometimes experience matters. So anyway, just wanted to add 2 cents. And before I forget to, I really want to thank Nick Smego. He bought the theater out. I'm just doing over here like doing the PR, like I organized this whole thing, but this was Nick's idea, just for the record. So
Make sure you pay him. Thanks, Nick.
All right, so I'm going to, I think I did all my checklist. I will now hand this over. I think we'll do a little bit of discussion, then if you guys have questions, I think we can just raise hands, and if you can just project like we are, that's probably the easiest way to do it, and I'll kind of help facilitate on that.
Cool. Well, I think a good starting point would be to get our panelists' insight on the meteorology behind the movie, and I'll start with my own 2 cents on it, and I'm curious, maybe even a little out view, but actually rewatched the first one yesterday. I thought this version did meteorology a little bit better. I think it was a bit more, there were some themes in there. I think about El Reno at the end. I think about the meteorology, frankly, a bit more accurate in this one. I mean, maybe not clouds and tornadoes, but I'm curious for our panelists' opinions on that. So, Josh, so here. Sure. First, I get to go. So first, you get a bunch of nerds or scientists, and the first thing they want to do is sort of, poo-poo and all that
But yeah, I mean, roughly the meteorology is okay. I think the science got worse from Twister 1 to Twister 2. They went from just trying to observe tornadoes to some ludicrous scheme to kill them. I mean, in the first movie, they're just trying to observe them, stuff like that. Sadly, this guy says that, oh, you can't measure winds with these Lagrange winds. And that's not true. He's sitting there tracking them and pushing you to measure the wind. Anyway, so you can exactly measure the wind. That'd be great to have those up there. So, it's a mix. Well, first, getting radar measurements of tornadoes would be great. It's unclear what they're actually doing there. And also, from a practical point of view, what are they doing? They need them there in a tornado, and somehow this guy's been making money selling the land. It doesn't, the dots don't connect. It's a lot problem, not a science problem.
I thought the MIT guy was very accurate. In my experience, meteorologists from MIT are horrible numbers.
I not appreciate the stereotyping of Brits, Chinese tourists, or MIT graduates. I think those three groups should be defined.
I also would like to find a glass that pickup trucks had.
Oh, yeah.
It did remarkably well. And I really don't feel like she saved Hope Reno. It was too late.
Well, the people who got sucked up. We were saved.
I'm happy they didn't take lunch break at events this time. That always bothered me in the first movie. That, you don't just show up, stay there, and do a little chase day.
But they were doing a rodeo. Yeah.
Well, there are definitely plot holes in that. I will say personally, not to be a complete doubter, but I get the guilt that they felt. That was very real for me, and I appreciated that point in the movie. I think a little bit. Definitely felt more human connected with this one. Like I don't think you're ever going to top the original. I don't think you're ever going to top the original. This was good. This was good entertainment. And look. Disclaimer, alright, my favorite actor is Jean-Claude Van Damme, so I don't watch these movies. I enjoy them for what they are, and, I mean, look at everything that the original Twister did that was so new back then, and now it's almost commonplace, deploying instrumentation and everything. I hope we don't start seeing people shooting fireworks in their tornadoes. I think it's gonna happen. But, it's interesting because you look at the evolution from Twister to now.
I'm a licensed pyrotechnician.
You kind of see where this movie was, We've got the YouTubers, we've got crazy people shooting rockets, it was definitely more rooted in reality this time than I think the last one was.
So I want to take the mic from there for a quick second, because I think there's a social science, especially a lot of us in this room are either in meteorology or directly connected to it, and I think that the social science component was kind of attacked right away, where it's this kind of YouTube, I don't know, 18, 19-year-olds chasing tornadoes versus, I suppose, PhD meteorologists. There seems to be that kind of theme. At the beginning, it seemed like it was going to be like, oh, making fun of the YouTube chases, and then they become the good guy. What did we think about that? And I guess from a broader perspective, one question I've got, and I have this coming into the movie, is do we think this movie, just like the first Twister, is going to spur more people to go out and chase? Or, what do we think of all that?
I wonder, because it's so much more mainstream now than it was when Twister came out.
Twister introduced a lot of people to concepts of storm chasing.
Right.
Storm chasers has been out, everybody knows about storm chasers now. Does it necessarily inspire a whole new generation? I don't know. I think it's more mainstream now than it was in the 60s.
So is this basically the 2024 version of that?
First of all, they do audience research, and the number of PhD meteorologists watching this versus YouTube, I'm pretty sure you're gonna make it seem fun. we want to sell tickets, right? It was sort of interesting how both times the sort of more professional group of people and the professional fan kind of group were the bad guys. It was all the black fans the first one. When I did interviews after the first show, because that's how long I've been the evil scientist. I was like, yeah, I'm the guy in the black hat, because we're the professionals out there with the real equipment, not, dirt. I'm like, fool, or whatever. And then the first one. So both times, the sort of more professional scientists, people with serious equipment, were the bad guys. So it's another stereotype, which I reason that. We're the cool guys.
I'll ask
But it was a hippie science one, not the people who were really going out there and deploying the parts. I mean, they, the non-evil, non-corporate, trying to build Walmarts or whatever they were doing.
Because of their funding.
Huh?
Like they just considered them bad guys because of where they were getting their money from. It wasn't.
Yeah, it's
But
not.
I think they were trying to like take advantage of the, weren't they trying? That was my opinion.
They were out there collecting data instead of saving people's photo albums like Helen Hunt the second was doing. I don't know what she was doing to help those people. Holding their photo albums inside of their houses, right? As I said, that's not what you're doing the hour after the tornado either. Silly.
Raising hands here, who thinks this is gonna spur more storm chasers following this?
I think you're wrong. I gotta say, now that there's no spoiler for this group, how many more women in STEM are we gonna see from this movie? Let's talk about who the heroine in this movie was. Just gotta give them props for that, right? Well, we'll see. It might take a few years.
So my view on that is after like Fast and Furious came out, it was a craze, and car culture was already pretty mainstream before that, but that movie coming out really spurred people to get into like street racing, that kind of stuff. So I think it's gonna have a similar effect just because of all the media hype around it.
Probably fair, probably something to it. I think we're at the point now where we want to start taking questions, comments, anything that you got in your mind from a weather perspective about what we saw in the movie. Any comments, questions that you got out there? Yeah.
What would actually happen if you injected silver iron into the?
What's the answer?
I'm sorry.
Alright, so first of all, absolutely no clue. I mean,
Is it good for the environment or should we be worried?
First of all, probably the amount of silver iodide you could put into a thunderstorm is something probably nothing. Now, I don't know, she has some super duper stuff with jargon reagents, right? So maybe it's super duper, sauce she's got there. So what would happen if you put special sauce into the storm? Sure, I imagine you could inject something into a storm and kill it. I mean, I can't tell you the number of emails I get are still, handwritten long letters from people who, are living in their mother's basement. So, but you want to drop bombs or set fires or fireworks, though. Cool idea. Yeah, it would have more nuclei into a tornado. Sure, if you put a lot of heat, like people want to nuke thunderstorms, or if you cool it off by raining it out, maybe it would do something. But we just don't know. And I don't, you have to sort of, do what we call scale analysis. You see if you're doing 1 millionth of 1% enough to affect that thunderstorm. But the problem is not knowing enough means that what she's doing is completely reckless. There was a project back in the 1960s or 70s called Project Storm Fury. You can probably Google it. It probably has a Wikipedia page where there was this idea to go seed hurricanes to see what would happen if you seeded a hurricane. Because basically we make a lot of the precipitation was taken out, and maybe we can disrupt the thunderstorms in the hurricane. And so they went out and they signaled one hurricane, and it weakened, and then a few hours later it got stronger than it was before. And then they never did it again, because people got scared. Maybe they're making it worse, and they just didn't know. So I think the ethics of doing something like that, the ethics of doing weather modification unless you know what you're doing, are, in my personal view, pretty questionable. Oh, right, yeah, there was somebody who wanted to build a 2-kilometer wall between Oklahoma and Kansas. I thought he wanted to build an army. This might be different people. I suspect there have been multiple wrong guys. What did that do? Disrupting the weather. All kinds of horrible unintended consequences. So, weakening that tornado when you're before it hits the town, who knows? Maybe that makes the thunderstorm stronger, it makes a bigger tornado than the next town. We just don't know.
Any other thoughts?
I also
don't know why she waited for the tornado to form.
Actually, I was about to say the same thing, like, why not do that when the storm goes up, kill it?
Yeah, why not do it right away?
Wait for the first 10 people to get sucked out. Then it's time.
I didn't do formal science, so I don't know how all this works with you guys. And I think too, you have to think of the logistics. You know, I think that's a huge thing. I don't think a pickup truck is gonna survive a tornado like that.
Just the glass.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've lost glass in straw being hit with my car, you know? That's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, that's the world's worst.
I know, right?
It's like, how did I get that situation?
Like, I can't even get into the hail core levels.
Any other comments, questions? Yep,
I have a question for Dr. Wurman there. What is your opinion on their use of the solid-state phased array radars versus the the traditional dish radars, and what are the differences between them? And do you think your team will adopt them in the future?
Sure. So, these solid-state radars are great in many ways. And so, a lot of new technology radars are pulling those, which you can electronically steer a beam. Again, that's kind of clear what they're doing with them. These guys are doing a lot of consulting on NOAA, and one of NOAA's big projects is solid-state phased radars.
Yeah.
Told them that's the future of radars. We haven't been using them that much because we like just simple technology of doing a lot of power focused in a narrow beam and just spin faster, which is just a dumb way of getting around scan. Just spin faster. So it's not a real engineering approach, but it's what I like as a meteorologist. But I think both techniques will, if you look 10, 20 years from now, both techniques will still be used a lot.
Yes.
About $1 million panel.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things wrong with it. They're deploying them in the tornado. It's unclear what they're doing with those radars.
Yeah, right there.
So you mentioned earlier social sciences. That's something that I feel is kind of interesting that doesn't get talked about as much as like the pure hard meteorology of all of this severe weather and its relevance to like public safety. I feel like we've gotten really, really good with the meteorology, but the social sciences, like they said, like in that one part where it's like, oh, 9 times out of 10, it's just, you know, there's no tornado. And then that 1 time out of 10 when it actually happens, a lot of times that's when it's disaster. So where are we on that? Are we progressing in any ways? Are there any significant studies or improvements that are coming down the pipeline as far as how that's going to change?
It's a good
Question, you want to?
Yeah. So first of all, I think I can speak early. None of us are social scientists, so you can't answer that firsthand. There's been a lot of effort to try to get warnings better communicated, try to get the word out there multilingually to people who aren't otherwise hearing those warnings. So it's not enough just you can make a perfect forecast, but you need the warning to be disseminated quickly, disseminated broadly, understood, and then have people take appropriate actions, not say, hey, 9 out of 10 times it's fake. So we don't know how many people die or suffer bad consequences because they say 9 out of 10. I mean, Actually, did she get saved, or was she one of the ones who got sucked down? She's gone? Okay, so. She got hurt. This is a marvel in the movie here. But, well, I thought that the first, the female scientist wasn't wearing a seatbelt, got it because she wasn't wearing a seatbelt. She was like, she's leaning out the window. So we don't know how many people are being harmed because they're not doing the right thing. It is unfortunately true that the false alarm rate for tornado warnings is extremely high. It's much higher than the numbers you think because there's sort of a 70% false alarm rate that's commonly quoted for tornado warnings. But the false alarm rate for you at your theater is 99.99%. So even if that storm makes a tornado, so the weather service counts it as a score, it doesn't hit you, it's 1% of the people, or 1/10 of 1% of the people in the warning area. As opposed to other warnings. If you're in a hurricane warning, you probably have a 30% chance of getting hurricane conditions. If you're in a blizzard warning, you probably have a higher percentage of getting that. Probably really you're going to get an appreciable chance you're going to get blizzard conditions. And that's not true for tornadoes. So how should people respond in those types of situations? That's a challenge.
I'll chime in quickly here, probably just as a broadcast man, I would be maybe the closest, I'm definitely not a social scientist, but I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't have a problem with that being put out there because that's something we hear all the time, is the false alarm rate, and I hear it anecdotally from my own friends and family, I'm sure there's a lot of broadcast messages, you can see a bunch of them back here, as well as somewhere here as well, so. We hear it all the time, right? We hear about the false alarm, and it's not gonna hit me, and I don't have an issue with that being addressed. I think it's up to us as communicators to fine-tune that message. I say it all the time on air here in Denver, like, there's a tornado watch, I would care more about severe weather coming that 5 people died in tornado in Colorado in the last 74 years. So, people freak out about tornadoes way too much, and it's just like the news leading with some Boeing issue every time everybody's freaking out getting out of the plane, right? It's like maybe it's a bit of a personal thing there, but I'm saying the real point, like what's actually impacting you? That's part of our job, is fine-tune that message. What will actually impact you today? And even before you're threat of dying flash flood, rather than do in Colorado or than do from a tornado. I guess I think it's taking that point in mind and fine-tuning that message. That makes sense.
And not just Colorado, I mean, it doesn't matter where you are, you can be anywhere in Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, and Tornado Alley Place, or Dixie Alley, whatever, if you're in Alabama, Mississippi, or Arkansas, your chances of getting killed by a tornado are pretty small. So, we wrote a paper 20 years ago looking at the death rates of people who were in given that you were actually even hit by that tornado. And we looked at the fatality rates of people who were even in the F4 contours, or it was F4 back then. So surprisingly low, it's between 1 and 10% fatality rates inside the F4 contour. People are shockingly resilient. And houses that are partially destroyed still have people survive in them. So it's a pretty amazing number of people who are residents who have survived in those areas. And that's looking at big tornadoes, once they went through Oklahoma City, and they killed 40 people, so you get the statistics. Just destroyed thousands of homes and killed 40 people. It's a pretty low percentage.
Take a question back there, yep.
What are your opinions and advice of amateur storm chasers?
Amateur storm chasers.
Find a new hobby.
Learn, but don't be stupid. It's so easy to, and even Josh touched on it a little bit too, talking about people's resiliencies, with social media and everything, all you see are the crazies. The people driving into tornadoes, getting hit by tornadoes and surviving. And I'm a testament. I lost 3 friends in a tornado. It happens and it will happen again. don't be stupid, you know? I've been doing this for a long, long time, and I started well before Twister in terms of reading. You know, I was 10 and 11 reading encyclopedias, and, you know, Greg Stump was the first person I ever reached out to after I chased my first tornado, and I didn't even have a driver's license yet. You know, I went to school. You don't need a meteorology degree to do it, but take it seriously. You know, it's not a joyride to go out and get yourself killed or wreck your car or put yourself in danger or put anybody else in danger. Learn what you can. It's so much easier now to learn than it was when I got started.
You be a good driver. I mean,
Yeah.
That's one of the big things I have out there is the driving.
Okay.
So keeping that in mind and being a attentive driver, not being distracted by what's going on around you.
Yeah, I don't know the numbers exactly, but I believe it's true that, you know, there are more storm chasing fatalities from driving incidents than from tornado incidents.
That is very true.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, we always perceive that's our biggest risk out there is reckless driving. I mean, still, I would encourage people to go out chasing tornadoes. It's interesting, it's fun, right? I go out hiking because it's interesting and fun. You need to be respectful of the environment. You know, watch out for bears and cliffs if you're out hiking. Watch out for hydroplaning and dangerous winds and hail if you're out tornado chasing.
So, a quick question. So you mentioned learn. What would you advise somebody who's just getting into it? What sort of resources? What should they do?
Dude, I grew up in the 90s, man. I don't know what this is now. You know, kids grow up on YouTube and stuff nowadays. They're seeing the crazies out there. You know, it's so hard. And you know, that was our experience with Discovery Channel. It was so hard because they wanted us so bad to be very flashy, very, you know, out there, and we just weren't about that. We were out doing a job, we were doing a mission, and we tried to keep it as low key as we could. The joke, the running joke with me in the 5th season, you see me in the opening credits, but you never saw me in an episode because they couldn't find story for me. Because every time they wanted me to go out and do something stupid, I told them where to shut it. And I you know, it's easy to get attention and be flashy, but most people have no clue who I am, and I have to enjoy it.
I miss your DVDs, Tony.
Oh.
With the techno music.
I mean, this is what to learn. I mean, learning, obviously, learn the basics of how storms form. There are tons of resources compared to what you get. The resources you have in the field, because there's cell phones, are amazing. I have radar scope. You know what storm is looking good. You have.
Yeah, since everybody does have radar scope now, make sure you sort of know what you're looking at or radar, that's what are real things, and what are some of the storm features that you're actually seeing on the radar.
Sure, you can have that. Yeah. There are herd forecasts coming out every hour, which have some degree of skill telling you where storms are likely to form. It's not exactly right, of course, but there's a lot of information, certainly, of where storms might form, what's happening now. Put a little dots to where the chasers are. I mean, I look at that, I'm kind of curious, how come we're here? Am I missing something, right? So, there's a lot of basic resources out there.
All right, I'm gonna take this one now. The miseducation over here all about it. So, there are a ton of great chasing resources if you are fairly new to the field that are entry level, accessible, assume no amount of prior knowledge. And they are all aggregated on the Girls Who Chase website at girlswhochase.com/education. And that includes free resources as well as now 2 years worth of what we're calling spring training resources. So that is a whole bunch of experts that we put in one place virtually who deliver presentations. It's fairly cheap. We're not talking hundreds of dollars. Go put yourself through those trainings. That will give you all of the basic topics that they just mentioned. That would be the best place to start. The only other plug I will make is for, if you guys have heard of Tornado Titans, Titan U has these, I use them extensively to teach myself how to forecast and chase. It's called Titan U. Just go to tornadotitans.com. That's entirely free as well, and Rachel Sanner is a wonderful educator. So those are some great foundational resources to start. The only other thing I would say is start following chasers who emulate the style that you would like to chase in on social media.
Be careful with that.
That's why I'm saying emulate the style you want to chase in. So if you want to be a YouTube chaser, I guess, go for it. I mean, we can't stop you, right? But like, a lot of these trainings also take into account how do you chase successfully and safely. So there's a big element to that. The only other person that I'll mention is Skip Talbot, who does a wonderful assessment, both retroactive of past events, including the El Reno tornado, where Tony lost his colleagues. In addition to, we had a couple of chasers overrun by tornadoes last year, and he did a retroactive of that. How did this happen? Where were they? Where did they lose situational awareness? So these are things we can learn from each other in that respect, how to stay safe. So he is on YouTube. If you Google Skip Talbot's Chronicles, Storm Chasing Chronicles on YouTube, hey girl. That would be a great, he's just a great resource.
He's a good YouTuber. He's a good YouTuber.
His fan was in the movie a whole lot. They were extras, but, sorry.
Good advice. I saw some other questions. Andrew in the back.
Yeah, so one thing that really struck me in the movie was that every time a tornado hit a town, you know, they brought up that there wasn't a basement or the structure couldn't handle it. And I find that very alarming and somewhat surprising that the most vulnerable area of the country does not have the infrastructure to combat tornadoes, which they deal with every year. So I guess the thing I'm wondering is, you know, why is that the case? And then is there a push to, I guess, make sure these towns are prepared better?
That's a good question. I guess I'd start by asking, based on your experience, I'm chasing in Oklahoma myself. It seems to me though that there would be a higher basement or storm shelter.
It's a water table issue. Yeah, this is actually what it is.
Clay soil.
Yeah, I'm not, you know, I'm not an engineer. I can't say that.
There's multiple factors that go into what kind of shelter we can get there. Some of it is physical, right? You can really dig basements easily. Some places are easier than others. A lot of it is economic. It's expensive to build a basement. And so, can you afford it? Or it's also expensive to build a tornado shelter in your home. It raises the price of that. And a lot of people in Oklahoma, a lot of people in tornado areas struggle to afford a home of any kind. A lot of people are in manufactured housing, or very low cost kind of modular housing. And it's just not practical for them all to spend that $10,000-$20,000 extra to have a shelter. In some of those areas, there are pushes to have community shelters. So these people, they have 5 or 10 minutes, can get to a community shelter. You know, the mean recurrence interval for a tornado at a particular house in Oklahoma is 2,000 years. So the chance that what?
Unless you're
More gets hit, but yeah, there's a couple of crisscrosses, but you could be in another town that's never happened, right? So the mean is 2,000 years between tornadoes and kind of one that's happening at your house in Oklahoma. It's 10 and 20,000 years when you're in Colorado. So the odds going to happen to your house are very low. So what should be required, what should be subsidized, and those get into very social and political kind of decisions about what's going to be forced on people, what's going to be subsidized, since people can't necessarily afford it.
Fair point. Other questions? I think there was one. Yep. Go ahead.
This might be a dumb question, but coming back to the question about radar earlier, of solid state and the Doppler radar, could you not, or the dish radar, sorry, could you not just spin the other one?
So sure, some do. So we do have a passive data array system that we use as a ground scan. It's got a slotted waveguide array, it makes multiple beams, we spin it in one direction. So as immediately we're spinning it fast. And then in elevation we're able to be. So there are one-dimensional phase arrays that do that. So there are different systems to try that. More sophisticated phase array systems, like the Spy-1 radar, we got converted to the Wurman phase array radar. So a prototype that has multiple panels, so they kind of steer one electronically but spinning it is another option. Absolutely, you could.
And unfortunately, we have to leave it there. I think our time at the theater is come to a close, but appreciate you all for sticking around for the panel discussion and for watching the movie. And what does it feel it? Feel it, Jason?
Feel
it.
Jason.
Not very enthusiastic.